Hi, everyone. Want to welcome you to another episode of the Rambles on. I'm Larry Buckland, pastor at Suncrest United Methodist Church. I have my friend with me, Mark Markle. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to this.
I always am. Always enjoy our time together, and I hope the listeners are having a great time along with us.
I found out from my middle son that my oldest son listens to this on a regular basis, which surprises me. He's a big podcast person, but he is not a churchgoer. And it surprised me that he listens. So
I'm glad he is.
You never know who.
That's right.
Okay, I'm going to focus on the 8-4 service, August 4th, which is Forgiving Sin. It's the 5th episode of the Ted Lasso series.
Ted Lasso. Love that guy.
Yeah. I don't know what it means to love a fictitious person, but yeah. Okay.
I do.
I have to be honest, so do I.
There you go.
We're talking about forgiveness, and in this sermon, you kind of broach two subjects. One of them is forgiveness, and one is healing divides. And to me, they're kind of two different things.
Yeah. Leave it to a guy that has ADHD to bring in two topics for one message.
Okay. It's fine, because it made me think about both of them.
Yeah.
I'm going to dive into forgiveness first.
Yeah, let's go.
You talk about, the episode talks about forgiveness as being a goldfish, 10-second retention.
Right.
But that means forgetting totally. And it's forgetting the wrong, holding a grudge, and not allowing it to impact the future. That's really hard. To forget. I can say to myself, that's okay. We're good. We're good. But I can't forget totally, because I want to continue to have interaction with you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you stiffed me on a loan, or you said something hurtful to me, how do I forget that? How is it possible to forget that as part of the forgiveness?
Yeah, I don't know that we completely forget things that have happened that have caused us harm or trauma. The episode in the Ted Lasso where he's saying be a goldfish, you got the player, I'm losing the player's name here for a moment, that made the mistake, and he calls him over and tells him to be a goldfish. He's saying, forget what happened there and move on to the next play. Go do the next play better. And I think you can still try to attribute that to life. That doesn't mean you're going to forget that play. You're going to learn from that play or learn from that wrong. And it is especially, I think, important for when we are the ones that have caused the problem. If we have made the bad play, made the bad choice, hurt someone else. I know people that have had accidents, and accidents have caused harm, but they were even accidents. And those people have a hard time living thinking about those accidents that caused someone else harm. And so how do you have a goldfish kind of mind to be able to say, I'm going to put that past me, even though it's still a part of who I am, but to be able to live forward, to move forward, and to go to the next play. And that's where I believe on the forgiveness is allowing grace to take place, which may not happen overnight, even though we say, hey, go be a goldfish 10 seconds. It's probably going to take a lot longer than that. But how do we then take that into the next play, the next steps of life, and the next steps of relationships? If not, then the relationship probably might have a tear or broken completely. And then where's the communication happen then if you're not able to be that goldfish in a way that says, I want to move forward? Now, I'm not perfect at that, Mark.
No, I don't think anybody is.
Mm-hmm.
You broached an interesting perspective that I hadn't thought of. It's that forgetting is two-way street. It's forgetting I hurt somebody else, that if they forgive me, I can let go of my shame or guilt or whatever, that I hurt them. And that to me is a powerful perspective that I hadn't given a thought to at this point.
Well, when we allow something like that to consume us, it becomes all we think about. And so how can we truly function and thrive to be the people that God has called us to be? If we can't forgive ourselves and move forward, it's going to be very challenging to forgive others.
Yeah. I think that's true. Watching, I keep notes during your sermon, and I go back and watch. So I have two sets of comments here. Paul, in his instructions in the Bible verse, essentially says, "Don't let anger continue after the sun sets. Give it up and talk to somebody. Get to the conversation to resolve it." That requires a commitment on the other person or people's perspective to say, "Okay, I'll talk. I want to resolve this." How do we deal with somebody who says, "I'm not going to talk to you again"? Well, what happened is something I can't get past.
If someone's not going to talk to you, you can only be available. If someone is going to push away and say, I'm not ready for this, or I'm just not going to, all you can do individually is be there as willing to talk and willing to broach the subject and willing to communicate again, and forgiving. However, to mend a relationship, it takes more than one.
Yeah. The saving grace to me is my relationship. Maybe this is preaching too much, but my relationship with God takes only me. God sitting there. Christ says, "Grace is yours, ask for it." And that's the one place I can find solace in my life when things just aren't right. And I can say to myself, I screwed up. I can't fix this right now, but I know I have the forgiveness of God that I believe. To me, that's big. It's huge.
We can take solace in that, to know that God is loving and has forgiven us, even if the parties aren't ready to come together, and to be able to have that kind of conversation. But all we can do on that is offer and try. Sometimes it is rejected, and sometimes it's something that can come back and be revisited, because I've had instances where people have come back and said, you were ready before I was. And whatever the pain was, they weren't ready in that moment.
I think that's important, that things can always change, that it can always be different. People can change in their life and your life, and that conversation can continue, maybe not now, but at some point in the future. Keep that hope open.
I was going to say, keep that hope alive with it.
The other thing you talked about in this is what divides us, which to me is different than forgiving. Just as important, but there's so many things that divide us in our lives. And people will say there are more things today than in the past, but I'm 78 years old, and there have been times in my life, in this country's life, in the world, that there were vast divisions in the population and just in a congregation. I'd like you to talk a little bit about that division issue within church, within the world, within our community.
We don't have to go very far to find it. It's there's a reason why there are so many kinds of church denominations. Even politics have gone larger than two parties. We always have distant history. We've had at least three usually represented, and then a lot of registrations are independent. So there are those divides, and then there are issues that people are passionate about, whether we're talking about abortion or the Supreme Court's rulings of the last couple of years. It raises people's passions, if you will, might be a way to say it, but also their interest on what they believe on human rights and things. And then government, city decisions as far as the local, boards of education, how we educate, homeschooling versus public schools. It goes all down the line, of what's your preference, what's your opinion, what is your belief. And in denominations, we have, for example, United Methodist Church has just gone through a rough time. Regardless of what side you're on, it's a rough time. And so anytime there have been churches to leave a denomination, it's a struggle, and it causes pain for people in those congregations that have either left or had a pastor to leave. So what we've been dealing with, if it's a new listener, the United Methodist Church since 1972, when there was language in the Book of Discipline, homosexuality incompatible with Christian teaching, was the statement that was just began in 1972. And now in our last annual conference in May 2024, that language was removed. So you had before that, you had people in the LGBTQ community that may have felt excluded from the church and may not have chosen to be a part of a United Methodist Church because of the language that they felt harmful. And now that the language has been taken away for those who read the Bible in a way of interpretation to believe that homosexuality is a sin and incompatible, then you have people that feel the complete opposite now that the United Methodist Church is saying for churches to make their own decisions. Even before churches are getting a chance to make those decisions, there are people having departures. And so it's a tough time. And the hope here at that we've been sharing at Suncrest is however way you read the scripture there. And we want you to know that we believe the church is big enough to think about what is healing more than a divide. And the healing part is that when we go to help someone, we're not asking them what party they're affiliated with. We're not asking them who they love or anything like that, or what their favorite football team is. Even if they're not a WVU fan, I'm going to help them anyway, Mark. I know that might be hard to believe for you.
Oh, no. Lord helps all.
That's exactly right. And so what I have shared with people here in this divide is that worship is going to continue to be worship of God. And we're going to sing praises, and we're going to be in communication and relationship with our neighbors. And we're going to continue to partner with groups and organizations in our community that are doing just like that, helping people, like Scott's Run Settlement House that we do a lot with, and many others. We're going to continue to do those things, and hopefully those kind of work groups and teams can help us heal that divide to say, we're loving each other, we're loving God most of all, and we're going out to help our community and beyond. So that's a little bit of a long ramble of saying, nothing's going to change as far as worship. We at Suncrest, I'm glad to be at a part of a church that I feel says all are welcome.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a really hard question. And it comes right back to what you just said. The Ted Lasso series, the character itself has been characterized as naive and Pollyanna. What you just said kind of sounds naive and Pollyanna. We'll get along. Come on, guys.
Sure.
Where do you find hope that that's going to happen?
Well, I believe one day it will happen. What I do know is that we're human, and we have strong opinions and beliefs. And I think there's room for people to believe that homosexuality is a sin, while I believe there are people that believe that it's not, that we still love and worship God, just like there are many other differing opinions on the scriptures. We have infant baptism in the United Methodist Church. There are people in the United Methodist Church that would tell you that's not baptism, even United Methodist, unless you're dunked in water and immersed. And there are people that say you shouldn't do that as a child, that you should wait till you're of an age that you can make your own decision. And we argue over that, lack of a better word, but it probably is a better word than arguing, but you know what I'm saying? We debate over things. And so that debate over how I'm baptized or how I receive communion or the different levels of sins, if you do believe it's a sin, okay. What about the others? And then if we don't think it's a sin, then okay, then there's that stronger tension for people that may feel that it is, and vice versa. So yeah, it's Pollyanna to think we're all going to come in here and sing Kumbaya.
Yeah, I agree. It is Pollyanna.
It's Pollyanna. However, I still believe that the God of all of us who loves us says, let's take a deeper look and say, right now at Suncrest United Methodist Church, what I believe before this happened in 2024 in May, we have a diverse congregation. We are sitting with people from other nations, different beliefs, and yes, we're sitting with LGBTQ community in our sanctuary each and every Sunday. You may not know who they are. Maybe you do.
Doesn't matter.
Well, it shouldn't. And so as we come together and we worship like that, that part isn't changing. The only thing that could change, Mark, in this decision-making that has transpired is that we'll know at Suncrest United Methodist Church what the trustees decide after a membership survey's taken place, but the trustees will vote, and we will find out whether or not there are weddings allowed on church property. And There will be
same-sex weddings.
Same-sex, yes. Thank you. Same-sex marriages on church property. And there will be people that celebrate that, and there will be people that will be upset with that. The people that celebrate that, if there is a wedding, they may come to that wedding.
It could go the other way. You're not calling it. I
Right.
mean, there could be people who are upset if it doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. I was going to say, there will be people that are upset. And then so let's say there is a wedding and someone is completely opposed to it, then they're probably not going to come. Probably not. And then the only other thing is that changes is a point of clergy.
Right.
That you could have. In this moment right now, I'm married to my wife, Christy. And so in this moment right now, I am a heterosexual male as the pastor of Suncrest United Methodist Church. Doesn't mean that one day, if that's allowable, that the SPRC and the church council couldn't say that a member of the LGBTQ community be the pastor of Suncrest United Methodist Church in his future. But until then, that's the only other issue of this decision is same-sex marriages and a point of clergy. And so there's a lot of other things, Mark, that we disagree upon and debate upon in the life of the church.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to diminish the importance of this. This is an important decision that could change the trajectory for some people as members of Suncrest United Methodist Church and even future participants. The other part I will tell you is after the decision's made, maybe someone comes and asks to get married here at Suncrest that's in the LGBT community. But I can tell you that no one has since May of 2024. And I haven't done a singular wedding of anyone on church property since I've been here.
My wife was intimately involved in doing prep for weddings well before COVID. And she points out that weddings aren't taking place in churches. I don't think that it obviates the issue, but it just is an observation.
I can tell you I have one that I just put on the calendar a few weeks ago, next June of 2025, that there will most likely be a wedding here on church property of a man and woman. And so there's one that I will have done that will be 2 years almost I've been here. And so there's none others. I do have a wedding in October, but it's not on church property.
We kind of got it down a rabbit hole here, I think.
Oh, we did.
I'm
we
sorry,
did.
I'm sorry to have led you there.
Will you forgive me?
I will forgive you. I will also forgive you for being naive and Pollyanna.
I am naive and Pollyanna.
That's a much better way of stepping to life than it is the opposite.
I'm an optimist, Mark, and I also take pride in getting along with people that are willing to, just as I am, that are on both sides of this discussion, and then also both sides politically.
Well, I think the important point you made in that sermon was we need to talk.
Yeah.
We need to talk. We can appreciate the differences without working to convince. Listen, talk and listen.
That's right.
And whether it's politics or theology or tattoos for that matter.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's the conversation that's important, the hearing that's important, the appreciation that the person I'm talking to is a child of God.
Yeah.
And don't forget that.
And seeing those people. And one of the things you bring up tattoos, so I'll really quickly say, Mark, oftentimes when I see someone with multiple tattoos, I don't have any. You know what I usually will tell them, especially, and it's true, I appreciate them. I'll say, I really like that tattoo.
Oh.
And the reason why I'll do that is because this non-tattooed guy is just because I'm a wimp.
A wimp from wearing it around in the world or for just getting
just getting it. I can appreciate and say, wow, that's a beautiful tattoo. And I can think about if I did have a tattoo, what would I get? And things like that. But I won't be getting it. I don't like pain. So I want to disarm that idea for someone that might think that having a tattoo is a bad thing.
I'm going to take a break here.
Yep.
People may hear hammering in the background.
Yeah.
We are having some work done here in the sanctuary, and we've decided to proceed with this conversation despite it. I hope it's not too distracting to those who are listening.
Exactly. It's progress, and we're excited. We're making sure we have multiple exits here at Suncrest United Methodist Church, and that's what they're working on, as you can hear right on cue.
Right on cue.
So,
well, the forgiveness and division are the subjects that came up to me in that sermon, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about them.
Thank you, Mark. Hey, everyone, I hope you tune in next time. It's been another episode of the Rev Rambles On. Have a great week.
See you in church.